Times. That way they can control the information by controlling the New York Times. There are two lead reporters on it for the New York Times, Andrew Revkin and another guy named Don Van Natta, whom I've since met, who seems like a reasonable guy. On August 14th, and this is 4 weeks after the crash, Don Van Natta reports in the New York Times, he's getting this straight from the FBI, he says that tests have proven that the center fuel tank blew up, caught fire at 30 seconds after the initial blast. In other words, something blasted this plane, the tank broke apart, and then it caught fire. And the New York Times says, what this means is that the only possibilities, this is almost a direct quote, at this stage are that either a bomb or missile blew up TWA Flight 800. This is August 14th. On August 17th, you know what happens right after that? I'm just speculating because I sense it, is that the FBI got called on the carpet. Don't let this story out. So on August 17th, a news story emerges. And who does the FBI go to for the news story? Andrew Revkin. Because he's the kind of guy, they sense too, who doesn't want the big cutoff, who's afraid of the big cutoff, being cut off from his sources. What the FBI does is they produce one eyewitness. The eyewitness says this, I turned and I caught out of the corner of my eye a bright white blast. And then the plane fell immediately out of the sky. The witness's name is Michael Russell. And then the FBI said, this is proof that a bomb blew up TWA Flight 800 because the bomb blast is bright white. A fuel tank blast is a soft, billowy yellow of a fuel tank. So the FBI said, it's clear now that a bomb blew up TWA Flight 800. A bomb is much less scary than a missile, from the sake of the traveling public, because you can check for bombs and screen for bombs. Now Russell, the thing is, he just saw it out of the corner of his eye. He wasn't watching anything else. He saw that. Now, you know how many witnesses told the FBI? And these are formal witness reports. You can go online and read them yourself. You know how many of them told the FBI they saw an object? This is what they said. Almost all of them. Some of them just saw the after effects of the falling plane or whatever, but some of them, a whole lot of them said, we saw this object come up off the surface, and it had a red tip and a gray, white, squiggly tail, and it zoomed out off over the sea, and then it corrected itself and arched over like an upside-down Nike swoosh, said this one woman. And then the nose of the plane broke off, and then the plane fell in half, and the right wing fell off. You know how many people talked about this missile track? 270 gave formal reports to the FBI. You can go online and read it. 270 of the 750 people he interviewed saw the whole scenario. Do you know how many of those people the New York Times interviewed?
None.
0. None. Which is astonishing. I've talked to 20 of them. They talked to 0 of them. And they're totally managing the news of this, what would be the #1 news story of 1996. This is, by the way, weeks before the Democratic National Convention. Clinton's running on a peace and prosperity ticket. If that plane was struck out of the sky by a terrorist missile, there's no peace and there's no prosperity. Aviation gets shut down, and we're going to war. We don't even know who we're going to war against. So Andrew Revkin's brought in to take missile off the table. Now on August 23rd, the FBI is still going with the bomb, and they do Van Natta does a front page headline story. Prime evidence found that explosive device destroys TWA Flight 800. Above the fold, right, on the New York Times headline, 5 weeks after the crash. Above the fold left, Clinton signs welfare reform bill on eve of convention. One of those headlines had to go. This one went. And when it was time to get rid of this headline, who did the FBI call in again? Andrew Revkin. They bring him to Washington now. And Andrew Revkin reports, NTSB now says fuel tank responsible for blast, right? September 19th. Same day, Al Gore is sending a letter to the airline industry saying, don't worry about our Safety and Security Commission. The restrictions we're going to place are going to be, won't have any teeth to them. September 19th, the whole investigation comes to an end. Andrew Revkin leads the way, afraid of being cut off from his sources. That's when that investigation came to an end. A month later, the New York Times is calling anyone who doubts that a mechanical failure caused the plane crash a conspiracy theorist. These are the people who, for the first 2 months, had said it could only have been a bomb or a missile. There is no new evidence. 16 months after the crash, the New York Times assigns Andrew Revkin to wrap up the reporting, because now it's a dead issue. And he says, after bold start, the headline reads, after bold start, TWA investigation trail goes cold. Now, what he's talking about is his reporting on a TWA investigation. After bold start, it grows cold. And if they can do this to TWA Flight 800, they can certainly do it to ClimateGate, where the numbers are, this is hundreds of people on the South Shore of Long Island, the affluent South Shore, saw this, and they were told they didn't see this. Michael Russell, by the way, after he saw the white blast, which was accurate, either a missile or bomb would have a high-energy explosive, he saw the plane fall directly out of the sky. That's what he says, and the plane fell right out of the sky, the only TWA witness they had. What the FBI had to do to discredit the witnesses who saw this plane, the missile coming up at the plane, they brought in the CIA. The CIA created an animation that showed the nose of the plane falling off, and then the plane turning into a rocket and shooting up another 3,500 feet into space. The only eyewitness, of the 750 eyewitnesses, none saw that. They were there. This was done to discredit those eyewitnesses. Michael Russell, the one eyewitness in the New York Times interview, said, I saw the explosion, and it fell right out of the sky. Okay? None of this is reported. It's astonishing. It's astonishing they get away with this. I'm going to throw one last note on, and then I'll take some questions. One other person I've been tracking, other than Andrew Revkin, someone said to me, he goes, Jack, how is it that every book you write now has Jamie Gorelick in it? Well, just so happens. Here's Jamie Gorelick's story. You know who she is? You've heard her name, maybe.